You're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. So it's a bit later than usual after round one of the league last week. Power outages and Everton played its part in affecting that last week. So we're back this week, and it's a pretty sweet one to be back, Barry, when it's Galway's biggest win over Mayo since 1986.
Jesus, Paul, you're a great man for the stats. Your research team have been working
Yeah,
overtime since the last for the last 24 hours, trawling back through the archives. I'm sure you paid them well. Um, yeah, look, it's lovely. I think just the manner of the victory as well. Like I know previously, we'll say in James Horan's era, they would have felt physically they had the upper hand in Galway, and that to a certain extent they could bully Galway, and really get at them on the physical side of it. But you have to say, yesterday it was very much men against boys, and when you look at the physical specimens, that is like it's just starting with Sean Fitzgerald, John Maher, Keane Darcy, Paul Conroy, all the way up. I'm leaving lads out like Shane. Excuse me, Shane, who maybe have would have had trouble with Sam Canlan previously. Like they were literally, for want of a better phrase, walking all over them, and um, that's not something that we're used to seeing in Galway Mayo clashes. And you'd have to say huge credit to everyone involved in the Galway setup that has got them into that shape physically. And even if you look at maybe the guys who are not the tallest or not the biggest in size, like Johnny McGrath, like what he did to Ryan O'Donoghue was off the charts, and he came out with ball after ball, just getting to the pitch with that bit quicker, and all over the pitch. Galway were fitter, sharper, stronger, and if you're Pádraig Joyce, you're saying that's a huge credit to everyone that has worked so hard over the last 4 or 5 years.
Mark, has it been a difficult week?
Yeah, keeping the head down low now for a few days. Yeah, I think a lot of Mayo fans, if they're being honest, probably maybe didn't see a hammering of that magnitude coming, but didn't expect the best, I would say, going to McHale Park on Sunday. There hasn't been a great mood in Mayo football for a while now. The opening night against Dublin gave people a little bit of hope and optimism. It was a decent display, but looking at Galway's line-out as well and the way they went strong, they were nearly almost a full quota. Mayo still missing quite a few, even though, there were a lot of regulars playing too. I think most people feared the worst, and it definitely came to pass on Sunday afternoon.
Just with that, Mark, because if we're looking, there is possibility that they'll meet again later in the year, Connacht Championship, or even into the All Ireland series. We've seen one or two Mayo players walk away from the panel in the off season. Where do you feel this Mayo team is at the minute?
A transition phase, I would say. And it's unfortunate for Kevin McStay and his management team that maybe they have to be the people to see that through, because it's unlikely, I would say, that we'll win any big honours under this current regime or these current players. But it's just a transition period after, a brilliant 10 years under James Horan, under Stephen Ratford previously, Holmes and Kennelly, James Horan twice. They were really brilliant years where Mayo were knocking on the door every year, but that team aged together. There's been a lot of retirements recently. This is a new team now. Underage hasn't been great. Let's call a spade in the last 10 years for Mayo. So not exactly, feeding from or not exactly picking from a really wealthy source either. Not a lot of lads coming through. But I think that will change, in Mayo. There's never a good team too far away. There's always footballers. But just at present, I would have a feeling that this is, I won't call it a low ebb, because, still Division 1, and I reckon Mayo will play Go in a kind of final again in May 4th in Castlebar, and Mayo could win that. That wouldn't surprise me either. But looking at the bigger picture in terms of All Irelands, I would say Mayo are probably as low or as far outsiders as they have been for the last 10, 15, 20 years perhaps. So, but that's the life of a football team. That's the life of a football county. You have to go through these things, grin and bear it, and you hope there's some good days along the way. For Ratford and McStay, I would say a Connacht title would be enormous, because I don't think Stephen Ratford has ever won a Connacht title in his role as manager with Mayo, or selector with Mayo. So that would be an enormous thing. And Mayo tend to do better winning Connacht title too. So it wouldn't be that big a leap to say Mayo could win a Connacht title this year and get to a Connacht final. I think it's only Sligo they have to beat. Only Sligo, I say. That's with all due respect in a Connacht semi-final, and let Roscommon and Galway hammer it out on the other side. And then at home, McHale Park, nice day. You got a good run at Galway. That could happen, but just in the grander, bigger scheme of things, I don't think Mayo will be All Ireland contenders this year.
Barry, on this, if we look at the result at the weekend, Galway 26, Mayo 16. Obviously, with the new rules and the way it is, 10 points isn't as much as a hammering as it would have been previously in the old game with the way teams set up. But even going by the result at the weekend, do you see Galway a step ahead of Mayo at the minute?
Yeah, I think so. With results over the last couple of years, would have to say that we are. You do have to caveat that by saying, like this time last year in the first round of the league, Mayo gave Galway a trim, and
Mhm.
Galway ended up in an All Ireland final. Mayo didn't, and Galway's year in the league was tough, but in the championship they really strive forward and they progressed and they did really really well. Where Mayo just didn't, unfortunately for them. Um, so you have to caveat that, but I think just in terms of, yeah, there's loads of lads to come back for Mayo, but there's loads of lads to come back for Galway too, and the competition for places is enormous, and the form of some players like Shane, maybe against Armagh when he came on wasn't fully at the pitch of it, but I thought yesterday he was exceptional. I thought Sean Kelly was like, if his finishing was a bit stronger yesterday, like it would have been a Rolls Royce performance. They're minding him. He looks fit. He looks strong. He's shown an energy levels that we haven't seen for 3 or 4 years, and I think that role in wing back, there's absolutely no catching him. When he's gone, he's gone, and it's about trying to shut the door as close to goal as possible on him, because once he gets a gallop on you, you're not catching him. And I think Pádraig will be saying, look, if you could get 4 or 5 points by just fisting it over the bar in a game, that could be a role for you, and it could be the difference between us going on to win something and not. But overall, I think it's fairly obvious at this stage that Galway are just that little bit further down the line than Mayo, and maybe a couple of years ahead of us, a couple of years ahead in terms of that transition period, because we have as well, and we've brought through, yeah, we've some really strong older players in the Pauls and the Shanes and these lads, but like, when you look at Johnny McGrath, Sean Fitzgerald, Dylan McHugh, Keane Darcy, John Maher, Rob Finnerty, they're guys that Pádraig has developed and brought on, and Mayo are going to have to do the same, and they're going to have to find guys of that equal or better quality than Galway have to catch them. But at the minute, you would have to say, from both a Galway point of view, and I think if you're looking at it from an outsider's viewpoint, Galway are a good bit further down the track than Mayo.
And Barry, on that, like, what's impressed you most about how Galway have went about their business in the first two games against Armagh and Mayo?
They're just so controlled. Don't panic. Like even against Armagh, the first they were the 5-1 down after about
Yeah.
15. I think they only scored a point after about 28, 29 minutes, but there was never panic stations. They never forced it. They were still controlled. They were lateral. And yes, not going back to the Armagh game, but you know, Galway maybe sometimes get a little bit of stick for this lateral play and controlling the ball over and back the pitch. But for me, the onus on that evening should have been on Armagh to come and push and come and press Galway. And I think Galway just cope with whatever teams throw at them. They cope at it remarkably well. And the other side of that is I'm just so impressed with their physical conditioning. I think they look so strong, so fit, so up for the fight, energetic, body language, everything that you could possibly want that's not skill based. Galway are absolutely exceptional at. And then to, I suppose, put the tin hat on it, some of their skill execution over the last couple of games as well has been absolutely fantastic.
Were you impressed, Mark? It was interesting by the way Galway used Shane Walsh from the throw-ins at the weekend. It was something maybe we haven't seen with other teams. Could give other teams an idea now, but in that role, it was just interesting.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing, and Mayo were quite naive to let it happen twice, I think, because he won it in both halves. I don't imagine the Nordy teams will allow him to do that. They'll have some sort of setup to hit him early and not let him get a run at it, because of all players, you don't want him to have a run at you and have a free shot at goal. But in general, he seems to be playing a more withdrawn kind of role as well, I'd say, which, if he's fit enough, would suit him, because I don't think he likes the tightness that comes with inside, and especially with Goa. I don't think they're such a powerful physical team, but I don't really think they play type of game that suits inside forwards. Like Barry said, it's lateral, it's controlled. They don't get a lot of ball early inside. So, if Shane can get on ball out the field, as has happened in the last few weeks, and there is more space out around midfield now with the new rules as well, where he can have run at teams and have more pops at 2 pointers. I think that'll suit him if he can just keep fit and avoid injury.
Just on it, and I'll bring Barry in too after this, Mark. Are the new rules working?
Um, well, I watched the Derry Kerry game Sunday morning. I thought that was unbelievable. So I was like,
Yeah.
yes, please, more of this. Um, the Galway Mayo game, I thought the first half was good. I thought the second half was like a game of freeze, almost technicalities, punishing guys for minor infringements that now Mayo were on the suffering end of it most times, so obviously I was a bit upset about that or whatever, and Galway probably enjoyed the fact that they were getting these frees. But the second half became a bit of an alien game, I thought. It was very stop-starty, really rules-based. I'm not sure that's where we want to go, but I wouldn't rush to judgment yet. It's week 2, and scores across the country are definitely up, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. The two-pointer, I like. It's skewing scores a little bit, and that even if you're getting hammered, you're still not out of the game, because 2 or 3 quick 2 pointers can get you right back in it. It's also skewing scores, and that some lads are end up with 9 or 10 points a game, which aren't true 9 or 10 points. But it is a good thing that tap and go seems to be a good thing too. Players seem to like that. They're utilising it a lot. Kickouts going to midfield, enjoying that too. You need to have big men out there, and Galway definitely have big men out there. Even though Mayo did quite well on kickouts the last year, that's one area where they did decently on. I'm not really a fan of not that I'm not a fan of the 3-on-3. I'm not a fan of the punishment for it, for infractions. I just think it's too severe. Um, and it's totally against the run and the flow of the game. A team could be attacking one end, the whistle is blown, the linesman comes on to tell the ref something occurred. None of the crowd have a clue what's going on. Then the ball is brought 100 yards the opposite direction in front of the goal for a tap over. I just think it's against the spirit of the game a bit and against the flow of the game. Now, teams might stop doing it eventually, or might stop breaking or infringing eventually, which means that then that'll be a good thing, and that there'll be no more of those free kicks. But I really don't know how that's going to be implemented at club level as well. That's one thing that I just can't see being implemented well at club level. And I'm looking at all these rules as a club footballer. How will these be implemented? How will they affect the club game? And yeah, a lot of them I like, some of them I wouldn't be so sure. But it's early days, and I don't think any of us should jump to conclusions or rush to decisions just yet.
Barry, for you, is there certain ones you'd keep and certain ones that you'd like to see got rid of, or how are you viewing it so far?
Um, yeah, maybe any interactions that someone on the line has with the ref maybe shouldn't be punished as much as, and I'm obviously only joking on that one, but yeah, there's lots of them that I think are a real progress. Like, it was becoming maybe just tedious, where we were looking at keepers just chipping short kickouts to cornerbacks all day, and other teams getting 15 behind the ball, and it was a bit like basketball, but maybe not as without the shot clock. I think the kickouts out the middle of the pitch. I don't think from frees outside the arc, I don't think you should get 2 points from a free. I'm all for, if someone can kick a score from distance, it's a brilliant skill. Reward it from play, but I'm not sure from frees. And like Mark, I do think that some of the penalties for less serious offences, like just someone taking a step inside their own half if they're meant to have 3 up top, like the penalty for that is very severe if a team can just bring it back out and kick a 2 pointer. And all this is fine when the games are not of any huge consequence. But like, is a game in All Ireland final going to be decided by that? You'd hope not. The other side of it is, it's open, it's really good. It's free flowing. But what you really fear is that when we go away from the league format where most teams are on par with each other and go back into the provincial championships, is there going to be some absolute tankings? And are we going to be looking at these rules and say, like, we can't have the bigger, stronger, more powerful teams with huge playing resources absolutely use some of the smaller teams as cannon fodder because the new rules have allowed that. So that's something that along with the club situation, that I'm intrigued with. One rule that kind of irritates me, and I don't know what the way of resolving it is if a team has, so Mayo had Stephen Cohen sent off yesterday. Mayo only then had to keep two up top, which is fine. I've no issue with that. But I think it's unfair that the opposition team, so Galway still have to keep three at the back. So where's
Yeah.
your advantage? Where Dave Man sent off and you've no offensive advantage. So like I was saying it to someone the other day, I was like, at that stage, I would be saying you push, hypothetically, if it was Sean Kelly that was left as one of the three at the back, put Sean Kelly in goal and put Conor Gleeson up in the forwards. At least then you have an offensive advantage all of the time. But the flip side of that, someone a lot smarter than me said, like, if you allow that third defender attack plus the goalie, that means they then have two extra players in the Mayo half, and is that fair either? So I'm not sure to the solution to it, but it's certainly something I think that if a team has a player sent off, the opposition team should gain some kind of an offensive advantage, and at the minute, the way the rule is, they don't.
It was just interesting to hear a couple of managers speak over the weekend about that it was in the document that they thought that you're allowed six subs, but you're only allowed five. Do you think with the new game that six subs is something that should be allowed now?
Yeah, or even like, do we progress it even further and just allow? And again, I suppose you have to caveat everything and say how is this how is it worked at club level, and that's always tough. But like at inter-county level, do you allow just rolling subs, just get them on and get them off, a bit like the international rules? Maybe that would be a step too far. But I think six subs. I don't think any team can have only having five subs as a reason for being bet over having six
Mm.
subs. Like, what's
Yeah.
they still have 10 guys, or they still have five guys on the pitch that don't have to finish the game. And surely they're going to get 10 footballers that, like, from what I gather, the data is showing that the three boys up top, their their rates of running is well down on what it was last
Yeah.
year. Yeah, around the middle of the pitch. I think the three boys in the full back line the same. So automatically you've six players that aren't doing as much running as last year. Like, the game has completely changed for anyone playing in the full back line. Like last year playing for Galway, how many short little kickouts did Johnny McGrath get and have to try and work the ball up the pitch? This year he's getting absolutely no short kick out, and now he's just fully man marking. So yeah, six subs would be good. I think it'd be important, but I wouldn't see it as being the be all and end all for managers this year.
On that, Mark, two pointers is something that Galway kicked a lot of on Sunday against Mayo, and there was, I suppose, this argument at the start: would the new rules suit certain teams? From what you've seen on Sunday, are the new rules are they beginning to suit a team like Galway now?
Yeah, if you can kick 2 pointers, you're at a massive disadvantage. Galway have kicked, like, to be honest, I thought Galway were very poor against Armagh and were lucky to win. But there's a 5 minute period in the second half where they kicked 2 pointers in a row, and that kind of killed Armagh's momentum, killed the game, stretched the lead to 6 or 7 points within a shot. So, it can do that. 2 pointers can do that. And Mayo, for instance, as well, last weekend, one of their bigger kickers, Fergal Bolden, had 4 attempts at goal, missed all four. So I think Paul Tau was the only one who kicked 2 pointers. So it's a massive difference because Galway kicked 19 scores, Mayo kicked 15, yet Mayo lost by 10 points. So that tells you how big an impact these 2 pointers are going to have. And the wind is a factor as well. I didn't realize really that in the first half Galway were playing well. Didn't know how they went in. behind at halftime, but they were against quite a strong wind. And then just with that wind in the second half and their big kickers, they just stretched for home. It was easy for them. They were stroking it over. So yeah, a team that can kick 2-pointers have big possibilities. A team that can't won't win anything. So lads will need to get out with the bag on O'Neill's and get the boots on, get shooting, because it's going to be a big game changer this year, the 2-pointers for sure.
What happened for you in the second half, then, Mark? Because you look at it, Mayo 9-8 up at halftime and Galway win 26-16.
Yeah, like I said, I thought Galway were the better team in the first half as well. Just maybe didn't take their chances. Like Barry said, Sean Kelly missed a lot. What happened Mayo in the second half? I thought they looked physically not as impressive as Galway. A lot of their leaders were non-existent, really. Let's call a spade a spade. Some of their younger and newer lads did well. David Neary, I thought, did quite well. Paul Towie did well. But the likes of Stephen Cohen, who got red carded, Fergal Boland, Ryan O'Donoghue, who was mentioned earlier, Matthew Rand, just didn't have their best days, whereas Galway's established players really, I thought John Maher came into it well. Shane Walsh obviously was flying in the second half. Sean Kelly had a great game. So, yeah, I think Mayo could have done with getting more from their leaders, their elder statesmen the last day, and that just kind of, they just faded a bit, whereas Galway kicked on. And listen, Galway just probably have better players at the minute as well. They performed well, and that's probably the upshot of it, really.
Barry, the newer faces or the fringe players that are getting opportunities this year so far in the league. We've seen Daniel O'Flaherty really beginning to look like he's going to cement his place this year in the starting 15. Sam O'Neill in again, starting again for Galway the last day, and Killian O'Carron. They're three players that are really grabbing their opportunities at the minute.
Yeah, look, I'm just going to go back at something I didn't touch on the rules, and just quickly, and I'm not sure what Mark thinks of this. I think if it looks like Galway, if a team feels that they can't compete with a John Maher or a Keane Darcy in the middle of the pitch from the throw-in, and the downshot of that is that Shane Walsh gets a free run at your 45 and a ball popped to him, I wouldn't be surprised to see teams conceding the throw-in. So if you say, for example, it was Mayo yesterday that whoever went out on John Maher just stepped off him, and as the ref threw the ball into the air, he just ran after Shane Walsh and let John Maher have the ball, because I think the 4 points, they're a killer, or the 2 shots ago, and Shane got the one. Like, if the game is level, if they go are 2 up going into the second half, all of a sudden they're 4 up. Like, it's against a good strong defense like Galway. It's a big mountain to climb, and I think it's something that will definitely be looked at, because I can't see teams taking the chance of not winning the throw in, and allowing a nice 20-meter hand pass to Shane Walsh and no one on him to kick it over the bar. I just don't think it'll happen. In terms of Galway sprint players, yeah, like, brilliant. Jesus, like, absolutely. Daniel O'Flaherty again the last day. Like, I thought he was exceptional against Armagh. Just so comfortable on the ball, kicked a brilliant point. Just really, really good. We heard loads of big reports about Keane Hernan, Sam O'Neill, Finian O'Lee,
Yeah, really.
against Armagh was excellent. Healing O'Curry, like, scored big score. I know he got man of the match against Armagh, but I must say I thought Finian O'Lie and Daniel O'Flaherty were probably a little bit ahead of him, but I thought he was really good the other day. And
Has Finian O'Lee given Galway pace in the half forward line that they didn't have?
well, yeah, certainly his work rate is through the roof. Like, he's eager to get on ball. He's eager to tackle. He's competitive in everything that he does, and he's an option. And what I would say is, don't rule out, our older fellas just yet. The Rob Finnertys, and hopefully we get Damien back. What it just means is that on Tuesday evening, when they go back in for 20 minutes of an A versus B, or Thursday evening for an A versus B, it's absolutely skin and hair flying, and it just brings everybody on, just that competitive nature of it. And these young fellas have no fear; they want to play, and they're giving an energy to Galway that's not, you can't buy it on the open market, and it's absolutely brilliant. But I think, again, back to the management team, they deserve huge credit for developing the panel that they have developed. And they're not afraid to use subs now. Maybe it was thrown at them in the 22 final that our panel, we didn't have the strength and depth of our panel, but that's certainly something that no one can say now. You'd have to say we mightn't have the strongest 15 in the country, probably not far off it, but in terms of strength and depth of our panel, we're right up there, and are probably the envy of a lot of teams.
Just on that, Barry, it's fantastic in one sense to see the energy that some of the young fellas have brought up top, because it probably was thrown around a goal last year that maybe they didn't have the forwards last year to bring on the All Ireland final, but it already looks like that they're starting to add to this already. And I know it is only February too, but it looks like we're starting to develop options in attack now.
Yeah, if you hadn't thrown it in, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, let's not put too much pressure on these lads either. They're all brilliant footballers, and if they've a lot of them have been really good at Sigerson over the last couple of years. They've been really good for their clubs. I know this is the next step, but it will get tougher for them, and come championship, maybe not in Connacht, but certainly in the knockout stages of the All Ireland Championship, like that's when we're really going to see where these lads are. But for the minute, you'd have to say anything that's thrown at them, they passed with flying colours. And when when a team wins, they usually have a really good mix of experience, which we have in the Liam Silks and Pauls, Sean Kelly's, all these lads, younger fellas, the likes of Daniel O'Flaherty and guys maybe somewhere in the middle as well. So I think Galway have a good mix of all generations across the team, and that's only positive, and it's a real step in the right direction.
Mate, just on it, because Galway maybe are a bit like Mayo in cases now. We're desperately going for that All Ireland and all supporters want it. But it's an interesting time of year because everyone will play this nearly league versus championship card already, even though they're different competitions. If you were part of a Galway management team now, or involved with this team, do you think they should go all out here and try and win a league?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They haven't won anything, this team, really, apart from Connacht titles at a national level. Um, I think Poor Choice spat out some fact the last day about how many years it was since Galway won a league. You can probably tell me. But yeah, for sure. And, a lot of people don't want to win the league because it impinges upon their preparation for championship. And while that may be the case, particularly if you're a team playing in Connacht, Galway are going to New York the week later. So, they could field their second team in New York and still win it. So it would be very beneficial to win the league. And particularly the way the All Irelands have gone for them, because we know it in Mayo, you get a reputation for losing close All Irelands, and people question your ability to, fall over the line. And like Galway left the All Ireland behind them last year, really. Like they blew it. They absolutely blew it. Let's call it spade a spade. They didn't go for it. It was there. They're the better team. They're better footballers. Armagh were at their absolute max. Galway weren't. So this team, if they can win something in Croke Park at a national level before they get to an All Ireland semi final or final again later in the summer, and the big questions are asked, well, I say go for it, because it can only help.
And it could be huge for this team to win a trophy too in Croke Park as well, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only two to play for, and Kerry have won one, Dublin have won one, Armagh have won one now as well. So won a big national title. So Galway need to win something and need to validate all the work they're doing by winning something at a national level. So I definitely think, especially now after their start, in previous years that they've struggled to have their best players fit. They've been scratching around looking for points. They've been playing catch up. They've been in relegation battles, and they've done really, really well with shadow teams, really, to stay up. And that probably benefited them later in the summer, to develop a squad. But this year they seem to have all their ducks in a row. Everybody's fit and available. So why not go for it and why not win it? They're in pole position now. So it'd be a disappointment, I would say, to Port Joyce if they don't go on from here to give it a good right shot.
Do you see them going all out, Barry? 2 from 2, unbeaten at the minute.
Well, I can say to you from having played with and known Pádraig Joyce that if there was a game of Tiddlywinks that was to be won, he's going after it, and he'd be absolutely delighted to win a national league. Will it impact on their championship? Probably not. is winning a provincial championship the most important thing for Galway? Probably not. So as Mark said, they've New York a week later. They have all the prep done for that already. They know their flights. They know when they're coming home. They know when they'll be training afterwards. They'll have a good bit of time to. They'll have all their ducks in a row in terms of Roscommon in place before they go to New York. And no disrespect to New York, but they will be focusing primarily on the Roscommon clash, and the New York weekend will be used as, a game they have to get over. There's a lot involved in it, but they have the best of preparation, the best of recovery, and they'll be fine getting over that. Um, in fairness to Mayo last year, um, and Mayo last year, they got to a league final and tried, but they weren't playing. They were playing Roscommon the following week. Like it's not really comparable. So I do think,
Or that was the year before. It was
or the year
very
before, yeah, sorry, yeah. So I don't think there's any issue in Galway having to go to New York a week after league final. So yeah, they'll be going flat out for it. Now in saying that, they'll be very protective of their players as well. And I know, as you said, you were saying to Mary, the Pádraig mentioned it yesterday post match about Sean Kelly. They'll be monitoring everyone's load very carefully. You know, they won't risk anything for the sake of going for a national league. But if the opportunity's there to win it, they'll try and grasp it with both hands. Yeah.
And from an outside perspective, Mark, like where do you feel they're at the minute, Galway?
Um, yeah, you'd have to say after their start this year and the way last year finished, you'd have to say top two or three really. I think Dublin have fallen back. Kerry, bit of an unknown quantity. Um, I'd say Galway are better than Kerry presently. Armagh, you'd have to say after last weekend, Galway looked the better side than Armagh, but they had their chance last summer and didn't take it. Tyrone, not really. You'd probably say Armagh, Tyrone, Donegal, the three teams up there at present. And Galway have a pretty good record against northern teams too, apart from last July's match against Armagh. Yeah, but yeah, right in the shake-up. But I really think that they blew last year's All Ireland final. I don't want to labour the point, but I hope this year that they don't leave the year with as many regrets as I'm sure they had after last July's All Ireland final. They did not go for that game. That game was there to be won, and they played within themselves. They played containment football. They let Armagh dictate the tune, and they'll have a lifetime of regrets, those players, if they don't rectify it and come back and correct that, because that game was eminently winnable, and they just didn't go and do it. So I think this year, and I hope this year, when they get back to the same stage, and maybe the new rules will allow them to go and attack things more, but I hope they go for it more and don't leave full of their lives full of regrets, or their football lives full of regrets, because Shane Walsh, Damien Comer probably don't have too many more opportunities. Liam Silk probably don't have too many more opportunities. So this is the time to do it now. Everybody's in the peak of their powers, and go for it. Really go for it. I was worried again watching the Armagh match last Sunday. The pitch, or last Saturday in Pearse Stadium, the pitch was woeful, but I thought, my God, these guys are going around the arc. Has anybody told them they can actually advance into the arc? And it reminded me so much of the All Ireland final. Now things improved, and obviously Go were very impressive on Sunday as well. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come, because they have the talent. They have it, as Barry mentioned earlier, they have everything going for them. So it would be a real shame now if they didn't go and grab this thing and give it their best, and go and try and win the big pot.
Is the big positive though, even for Galway fans coming out of Castlebar, Mark, to see Shane Walsh back close to his best, because some of the scores and what he contributed on Sunday, he really did look like he's beginning to get back there.
Yeah, and Kilmacud not featuring in the latter stages of the club championship will definitely help Shane this year. He probably had a proper rest. Like, by all accounts, he's in great shape. He looks in better shape. So they need those guys firing. There was a lack of magic last July in Croke Park. When they needed lads to kick points, it just didn't seem to have anybody to have the energy to burst past an Armagh cover, or burst past an Armagh defensive blanket. So yeah, they'll absolutely need Shane to perform at his best. But when you get to these big games, Shane is always going to be very tightly marked. So it probably won't necessarily be Shane kicking 8 or 9 points in these massive matches. I know he did against Kerry in the All Ireland a few years ago, but particularly if it's northern opponents, they'll always have a plan for him. So other guys need to step up, and Galway do seem to be very well rounded. They seem to be able to get scores from a number of different positions, whereas Mayo are very reliant on Ryan O'Donoghue, and if Ryan O'Donoghue doesn't perform, they're quite a blunt instrument, really, and as that showed at the weekend. Unfortunately for Mayo, Galway have a player who has the measure of Ryan O'Donoghue, and not many players have the measure of Ryan O'Donoghue. He's an absolutely brilliant player, but Johnny McGrath is equally a brilliant player. And that really curtailed and put the kibosh on Ryan's influence on Sunday. And when that happens, Mayo struggle. But I think Galway have more avenues than Mayo. So you'd hope for their sake that, Killian O'Carroll continues to develop and Damien Comer comes back fit, and they've Sean Kelly attacking forever. Paul Conroy is always kicking points. So I think they just have more avenues than Mayo, and that's probably what will be required when things tighten up later in the summer in Croke Park.
Barry, just on Mayo, do you think they fancy themselves still as like one-on-one defenders? Because if you look at it, David McBrien last year went on Comer one-on-one, and we seen the damage he done. Sam Callan the last day went kind of one-on-one with Shane Walsh, and it's they've been big factors in Galway getting the victory in those last two games in particular.
Um, yeah, no, look, Sam Canlan has also done very well on Shane
Mm.
Walsh previously, so like I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet on that. Yeah, Dave McBrien, but like there isn't a defender, and honestly, there isn't a defender in the country that if you left that much space in front of Damien Comer, and he's getting the ball that he got, there's no defender in the country that can handle that. So I think Mayo tactically will need to get it absolutely spot on if and when they face Galway in a Connacht final, providing you know Galway get over Roscommon and Mayo get over Sligo, which won't be too easy. But um, I think tactically Mayo would have to be an awful lot better than what they have been over the last couple of years. I thought they were naive. I thought their shape went. I'm not sure. To me, it didn't look like they were fully engaged in what their management were trying to do. Their body language wasn't great. I'm not sure what the mood in the camp is like. Mark mentioned retirements. To me, the biggest elephant in the room is the non-retirement of Cillian O'Connor. Like, Mark mentioned that Damien Comer, Liam Stilk, Shane Walsh don't have many years left. Cillian O'Connor's older than them, yet he's telling the Mayo public and the Mayo panel and the friends that he's friends with that he's not going to commit to Mayo football this year, but he might if basically if there's a change of management, and that's although he didn't say it, I think everyone can kind of see that. So I think there's underlying issues there. Um, so I still think in terms of Mayo, if I was the Mayo manager, and something Galway needs to be wary of, there was probably three or four clips that I'd be pulling from the game yesterday and have them on repeat over and over again in the week in the lead up to a Connacht final. There was the incident with Cillian O'Connor or Cillian O'Curry and Jeremy O'Connor. I think Paul Conroy had a bit of a jibe at one or two of the Mayo lads. There was one or two incidents that you'd have to say Galway really stamped their physical authority on Mayo, and you'd be saying to the Mayo lads in the lead up to it, like, if we go down here, let's go down fighting. And Aidan O'Shea is a brilliant warrior. He'll be back. Um, Jordan Flynn, obviously. So they have big, powerful guys to come back. They'll need to target that kind of fight in the right way. But I think tactically they're going to have to get it an awful lot better than what they have over the last couple of years.
You mentioned tactically there, Barry. Have you seen Dave Morris or Mickey Graham bring anything different tactically yet, or is it still too early to tell?
Well, it's different. It's difficult in that we're I suppose for the uneducated eye like myself, I'm trying to see, is it are these the new rules, or is this David Morris, or is it Mickey Graham, or what's going on in Galway? They like have they changed anything drastically? They probably haven't. Like, they haven't gone from a team that is just kicking 30, 40 meter balls into our forward line as much. They have embraced the new rules. There's a lot of solo and go. Um, and they are trusting that one-on-one defender more than they have in the past, and obviously that they have to because of the new rules. But I think it'll take time. It'll take time for David and Mickey Graham and Porrick to and all his other management team to fully put the stamp of what this year will be. It'll take a couple more league games before we can actually tell you that's what Galway are trying to do. They're still very patient. They're not flying off the shoulder, Bart, maybe Sean Kelly, and couldn't, their strike runners aren't as like I saw the highlights of the Donegal game against Dublin. Like their strike runners were coming from every place. Galway don't have that just yet. They have more of a patient game, so I think he'll be looking to kind of um, improve the stuff we're very, very good at while also bringing some new stuff to the party. But it's probably just a little bit early to tell fully what the lie of the land is in that situation yet.
Just one, two, Barry. Are you surprised that Conor Flaherty hasn't got a run yet with the way the new rules are?
um, as a Claregalway man, I'd absolutely love to see Connor getting a run at it, and he will. Like he'll get a chance. I don't doubt that at all. Um, but you have to have respect for Conor Gleeson, what he has done for Galway over the last couple of years. Like, and you can't just throw that away and say, look, um, new rules. Let's try someone new. So Conor's going to have to work really hard to get
It's
his
more
chance.
so
And
though that he didn't play a league game last year.
yeah, like they trust Conor Gleeson, and they like from what I'd say is it's very easy for me, you, and Mark, and whoever to sit here on a Tuesday night and chat about who should be in goal. They see this every single week. So they're looking at training Tuesday, Thursday, all their challenge games. They're putting who they believe gives them the best option of winning. They're putting them in goal. And right now, I'd say they think it's Conor Gleeson. And I think a huge part of that is down to, the length he can get in his kickouts, particularly when the majority of kickouts in games now are going long. Conor Flaherty is a brilliant goalie. He's a brilliant footballer. He's a brilliant lad as well. He's a credit to the club and to everyone involved. Um, and when he gets his chance, he's going to have to perform and he's going to have to put pressure on himself to perform. And he'll give them a different option. But we have to trust the lads that see these fellas every evening at training that they're putting the right person in goal. So far, they've been proven right. But as I said, when Connor gets his chance, he's going to have to show them something different.
Just on it then, Mark, we touched on obviously that Galway should go all out to win this league, but on the makeup of their 15, do you think it'll be a priority now for management as the league goes on to try and get the strongest team, or do you think there'll still be a bit of experimentation as the league goes on?
Yeah, I'd say a bit of a mixture. Like in all fairness, last year, you know, through force and necessity, they had to really experiment, and they blooded a lot of young lads. This year they probably won't be as much. Maybe they might have 10, 12 established lads every day and maybe two or three rookies. Or there's not that many rookies in their squad now, though. Last year a lot of them got a lot of game time. Daniel O'Flaherty, Keane Hernan's well established now. Killian Curran is well established now. So there's not too many rookies there. Colin Costello, perhaps I'd like to see get some more football. I saw him in the under 20 final last year and he was unbelievable. So he's a footballer as well. So it'd be good to see him get game time at this level. But yeah, I'd say Power Joyce's days of experimentation now are over. It's time for Silver. I would say he's thinking at national level, so he'll be going bald headed to win the lot.
Yeah, it's obviously Derry next up for Go in the National League. It's a break week this week, and then they go to Celtic Park to play Derry. But that is all we do have time for on this evening's show. Thanks to Mark and Barry for coming on.
Thanks, Paul.